Alright, so we're looking at equations of circles, going from the general form, which is this right here, x squared plus y squared plus ax plus by plus c equals 0, that is the general form, to what we call the standard form. So x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now, from the general form, I can't really see any pertinent information that would help me to graph this. In the standard form, the h and the k, if I could get it into this form, the value that's inside with the x and the value that's inside with the k make up the center of our circle, and the value that the standard form is ending up being equal to is our radius squared. So we can just simply pull the radius out by taking the square root of whatever value we're left with, right? So r gives us our radius. So there's definitely some benefits of going from the general form to the standard form. So how do we do that? So we do see that we have to take our x's and somehow condense them into the squared form and do the same thing with our y's. The way we'll do this is by completing the square, just like we would for solving a quadratic. So let's look at an example. Let's say that I have x squared plus y squared plus 4x minus 10y minus 7 is equal to 0. So note that I do have this general form, x squared plus y squared plus ax plus by plus c equals 0. So it's in the general form, and we want to go to the standard form. So the first thing that I'm going to do is group my x's, group my y's, and move the plane constant to the right-hand side. So I'm going to identify the terms that have x's, and here they are. So I have x squared plus 4x, and we're going to complete the square, so I'm going to leave a little space right here because I know there's a number that will make this a perfect square trinomial if you watch the video of completing the square for solving quadratics. And I'm going to do the same with my y's, so I have plus y squared minus 10y, and then again plus some c value that we'll figure out in just a minute, is equal to, I'm going to move that plane constant to the other side, so this is a positive 7. Now, our goal here is to make perfect square trinomials with our x's and y's so that we can condense them back into that squared form. So I'm going to look at first my x's, and I'm going to take the b value, the number that's in front of x, cut it in half, so half of 4 is 2, and then I'll square it. So 2 squared gives me, coincidentally, 4. So I'm adding 4 to the left, I need to add 4 to the right. And now I'll do the same thing with the y's. I need to make this a perfect square trinomial. So the missing c value is half the b value, so half of negative 10, which is negative 5, and then negative 5 squared. So you take the middle number, half it, and square it. So I get negative 5 squared, which is 25. So if this is an equation, if I add 25 to the left, I have to squeeze in a 25 on the right-hand side. And now we're going to simplify. We put in this c value because that's the number that makes it the perfect square trinomial, meaning that I can now condense it back into the squared form by taking half the b value. So half of 4 is 2, so this condenses into x plus 2 squared plus, same thing with the y's, we picked this c value specifically because it makes it a perfect square trinomial, and now we can just take half the b value and write it in its condensed form. So half of negative 10 is negative 5, so this piece, these y's, this little quadratic with y's, condenses down into y minus 5 squared. And we can simplify the right-hand side. These are just numbers, so we can combine them. 7 plus 4 is 11, and 11 plus 25 is 36. So now we've completed the square to rewrite our circle from the general form to the standard form. In doing this, we can now pull out what is the center of my circle, what is the radius of my circle, which makes graphing a lot easier. So the center is my h and my k. So notice in the original formula, it's minus signs. Minus in a formula is going to tell you opposite. So my center is the opposite of these numbers. So instead of positive 2, I have negative 2. And instead of negative 5, I have positive 5. So the center of this circle is negative 2, 5. And what is my radius? Again, if you go back to the formula, or to the equation in standard form, it's equal to my radius squared. So 36 is not my radius, it's whatever my radius is squared. So what do I square that gives me 36? And the answer should be 6. So I know that the radius of this circle is 6. There we go, we pulled out all the important information. So let's do one more. Real quick, start to finish. Looking at the general form, so let's say I have x squared plus 8x plus y squared minus 12y, minus 5. I'm just making it up as we go, right? All right, so here I have the general form. I want to put it in the standard form, so I'm going to group my x's, group my y's, and move the plain constant to the other side. This one ended up being the x is already grouped, the y is already grouped, but let's do a little cleaning up and put our spaces. So I have x squared plus 8x plus whatever number is going to get me that perfect square trinomial plus y squared minus 12y plus, again, whatever number is going to give me that perfect square trinomial is equal to, we're going to add 5. There we go. All right, so let's figure out what our numbers are that make us a perfect square trinomial. So for my x's, half of 8 is 4, and 4 squared gives me 16, so I'll add 16 here and add 16 to my 5. And same thing with the y's. I want to figure out what that c value is to give me the perfect square trinomial. So half the b value, half of negative 12 is negative 6, and negative 6 squared is positive 36. So I add 36 there and 36 to the other side. So now we can condense and clean up. So now that we have the perfect square trinomial, I know this condenses into something that looks like this with a little square, and the value that goes inside is just half my b value. So half of 8 is 4, positive 8, positive 4. Plus, same thing is going to happen with my y's. I'm going to have a y in there, and it's going to be squared, and the value is half my b value. My b value is negative 12, so I get negative 6. And this is going to equal 16 plus 36 is 52, plus 5 gives me 57. Yes? Yes, 57. All right, so there we go. We have our circle in standard form. So again, we can now pull out the center and the radius. The center is going to be the opposite of the numbers inside with x and y. So negative 4 and positive 6. Give me my center, and the radius inside the equation, it's squared, so when I pull it out I need to take the square root. So the square root of 57 is just the square root of 57. There's no simplifying it. So there it is in standard form, and there's all of our important information. So there we go, so completing the square to write the circle in standard form.